Hello everyone, welcome back to Genuine Chit Chat, the podcast. We're going to help you grow through what you go through. If you guys are watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you'll probably realise that I'm not recording this intro on set. So my new way of recording intros, I do it once the guest leaves, and completely forgot to do it on the day, didn't I? So here we are. Anyway, in today's episode, I'm joined by the amazing Ashley. She is an anxiety coach and she helps people get rid of their anxiety through the subconsciousness. She's not just a coach, but she suffered with anxiety for 15 years and she's finally on the other side of that. So this episode is really going to help you if you suffer with anxiety and how you can get through certain situations or how you can prevent them from happening. So yeah, let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back. Ashley, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm super excited for you to do this episode.
Yeah, this is super out of my comfort zone. I would say, obviously I said to you, I like to talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, just coming on a random podcast. Obviously never met you before,
know,
so it's quite, nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. So much I want to talk about. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm excited to hear what you're going to say because I know it's going to relate to a lot of my guests listening.
Yes.
So let's get into it. The word anxiety is this horrible word that the minute you hear it, you're just like, oh, it's horrible. So could you give your own description of anxiety and how is anxiety different to just daily stress?
Yeah. Okay. So I come from two aspects. I've got obviously my own journey with anxiety, and then I have like kind of the science-backed stuff that I obviously really love as well. Because as I'll probably talk about throughout this, I had my own journey with anxiety, and I think when I look at it from a personal aspect, anxiety for me is more about like future stuff. So it's more about like that kind of like overwhelming nervousness, anxiousness in the stomach where you're like thinking about the worst case scenario or the what ifs and that sort of thing. Whereas I feel like more stress-based stuff is more sort of what you're dealing with right now and in the moment, I would say. But scientifically, anxiety is kind of like your warning alarm system to kind of keep you safe all the time. So you'll find that anxiety comes up in maybe you have a situation in the future that you're like anxious about. And you're thinking, oh my God, like it's because your brain perceives that thing to be potentially dangerous. And it might not be dangerous in the sense of like, oh, there's a lion going to be there and you're going to get eaten, or there's like something serious. It might even be that, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. It might be that you have so many other underlying things that cause that anxiety. So yeah, there's two aspects I come from when it comes to anxiety, my own personal journey and then the more scientific back stuff. Because I think as well, anxiety means different to everyone because people experience anxiety in different situations as well. It could be they have anxiety about going out the house, but then it could be anxiety about work-based stuff, or it could be anxiety just in general. So there's lots of aspects from it. Yeah.
No, that's really great to hear because I think I was listening to another anxiety podcast and I think the big sort of part of rejection, which is I think is one of the main triggers for anxiety, it comes from like way back in the day when we were sort of growing up and we were in our own tribes and you'd get rejected from your tribe. And it's mad that although we've grown up so much from like that era that was centuries ago, like it's mad that it's still ingrained in our brains now.
Like this is what I found so fascinating as to how the brain works, like the neuroscience of it, and I think for my own journey that really helped because it really is, it's our human nature. And even if you're having anxiety about something in the future, like an event or something coming up, it's because that is dangerous in your mind. Like that is such a dangerous situation. It might not be in the logical sense, but it is in your brain. Because obviously there used to be lions around and prey, like we were prey in some sense, right? When we were sort of caveman times. So essentially that's the danger that your body is trying to save you from, but it doesn't know the difference anymore between fear of rejection or like the lion being there or just being in a busy city centre or a work meeting or a big conference or whatever it might be that you're anxious about. So that's what I found so fascinating.
That is really fascinating. And do you know what I also find fascinating is why it only affects certain people, like why certain people would be scared about, like you said, going into really busy places, because like you said, it's ingrained in their brain that back in the day that it was the fear of a lion approaching you, killing you. But then why are some people so okay with it? Like, how does that make sense?
So I love the neuroscience. So I'm not a neuroscientist, but I've done a lot of research, and obviously I'm NLP based. So a lot of my therapy is NLP, so neuro linguistic programming, which is very scientific in the brain and neuroscience. And really it comes down to what you've experienced in life. I don't want to use the whole childhood thing because it's not necessarily just like I had a really great childhood, like really great. So just because I had a great childhood or nothing bad happened to me doesn't mean I don't get anxiety, and vice versa. But it's really about sort of the situations that you've experienced and the sort of maybe the people or the situations or anything that you've experienced that then creates the brain. So, and the situations that you then find yourself in. So, you know, it could be that there was one moment maybe at school in your childhood that you were completely being yourself, you know, when you're just being like random and weird and a little bit like cool and you're doing whatever you want to do, and someone made fun of you, and in that moment you decided, do you know what, I can't be myself, it's not safe to be myself. And then that trails on to life, so you then hide yourself a little bit more, and if there's any danger that your self becomes seen, you have anxiety, or you might panic, or you might have, you know, some negative feeling. So it really is about your brain taking in the information that's around you and then perceiving that as to be dangerous or not. So then if you think of all the situations that you've been through in life and how that can then affect how you then see the world and how you act and whether you have anxiety more or less. So yeah, it really comes down to stuff that goes into the brain, and I find that incredibly fascinating.
The brain is just the craziest thing, isn't it? Where it can take one situation like that, and I get it. Like I feel like I've been in situations that most of us have, where like that feeling of being embarrassed or rejected. It kind of just, you think like, okay, I'm never doing that again, and then it's sad because you're like losing parts of yourself that were you because you're worried about what others are going to think. And
so sad.
There's like this, like a lot of people say, oh, I don't care what others think. Like it's not that easy. Like humans are made to like care about others. So it's just so hard, isn't it? Like wrapping your head around it. And so you were mentioning your story as well. So let's go back to yours. So you said you had a good childhood, and then what happened after that?
I think I was definitely more expressive child. So I definitely I don't know if it's just the world that I was brought up in. Like if you look back at sort of the 1990s and the terrorism, and like, I mean, every generation has their thing of things, right? But I think a lot of stuff that was happening in the world news, like the Twin Towers, like all of these things that really, really, I don't know, made me feel like the world was a bad place. So I think I picked up quite a lot of sort of limiting beliefs, that we like to call them, in my early years, and then become very worried, and I couldn't sleep at night. I'd have night terrors and things like that as a real young child. And it was around the world ending and these bad things happening, and I think I had anxiety. But then on top of that, love my parents to bits, but I think one of the things that they weren't aware of was how to process emotions correctly. And I think this is something that a lot of people aren't taught correctly. I think this generation that we're seeing now, the younger children, they're taught a lot more how to process emotions and to not suppress them. But, you know, I had these big worries, these big anxieties. My parents just didn't know what to do with that. And, you know, it's quite a lot if you haven't experienced that as an adult and you've got a child that's experiencing this. So I think there was a mix of things. The world feeling very scary, emotion feeling very overwhelming, and then as you then go into teen years, you start to become this kind of like, you know, I'm just going to hide every part of me and be this big facade to try and fit in, right? So there was like all of these different, I'd say, foundations and things that kind of brought then, at the age of 15, panic attacks, anxiety, which goes against everything that you want at that age, because you want to fit in even more, and you're like, oh, I'm actually a bit. At the time I thought I was really strange and really weird for having these emotions.
That's so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of feeds in a little bit more as to why then you're more anxious. And so that was the starting point of panic and anxiety for me. I think I'd had anxiety before that, but that was when it was coming out.
And at that point you said, so you didn't really tell any of your friends you felt that sort of way. And did you express it to your parents? Because, you know, I know you said they didn't know how to deal with it, but did you express you were feeling those ways or not really?
Not for a long time. I remember having, oh God, it makes me sound really old, but I remember having my like first laptop at like 14. You know, you go on MSN and stuff. You remember MSN and all that stuff. I don't know if I'm really old. How old are you?
25. How old are you?
Okay, I'm 31.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, both my sisters are older, so I grew up with all of that anyway.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, because I'm worried like I'm really old. But like, I remember having my first panic attack. It was, I used to live near Cambridge, and we went to like this festival thing, and my heart started racing, and like all these physical things, and I was like, I'm not well, like something's wrong with me. started Googling my symptoms, and it come up with like panic attack, all these things. And I was like, I seriously thought like I was being abducted by aliens or something.
Really?
Like the feelings were strange. I'd never experienced it before. And it was like I was there, but I didn't feel like I was there. It was really strange. So obviously Googled it and was like, right, panic attacks, okay. So I thought it just happened once and that would be that. It started happening more. And then I started to get anxious about it happening. And I see this a lot with clients now. It's like, it's not so much maybe the anxiety or the panic attack, it's the fear of the fear of the panic happening and not being able to control it. So spiraled and then led into like 15 years of avoidance and sort of like patterns that then I created to sort of avoid the panic at all costs and things like that. So yeah, it was a long journey.
That is a very long journey. And I guess that kind of makes sense where you were in fear of the panic attack. It's sort of like the deep-rooted cause of anxiety is because you've been through something that is kind of like PTSD. You're scared about it happening again.
Yeah.
So then you're putting more fear. So you're sort of growing that anxiety.
Yeah.
So when you're going through that for like the past 15 years, that's a long time. So would you say you were just anxious daily, or was it kind of like you'd feel good sometimes, or it was just like certain spurts of anxiety?
I feel like I've been through so many different phases of it being bad and then being good, being bad, then being good. And I think you learn to cope and manage with what is happening at the time. So there was a phase in my life where, you know, I first started my first job and then it started to come in there. So then it was like, right, let's cope and manage and do all the things to like get through that. Then it would die down because now I know the neuroscience of it. I'm like, I know what was happening. Like your brain gets used to the patterns really quickly. So you almost go, right, panic, anxiety, right, I'm going to push myself and get through it and sort of go, oh, I'll be fine. And the more you do it, the more you learn to cope. It doesn't go away, but you kind of go, well, I've got through this a million times. It'll be okay. Never went away fully, but you cope. And you have like your little avoidance tactics of like, well, this thing really makes me anxious, so I'm not going to do that. I'll do this instead. And, you know, I'm always ill, but I'm not always ill. I'm just saying that to people to almost stop doing the things that I know make me anxious and things like that. So as much as it went down, it really didn't. I just avoided it or found ways to avoid it.
I think that's great. Yeah. And we'll get into that a bit later because I think anxiety is not going to be that thing that will just wake up one day and it will be gone. Yeah, like you said, it's like dealing. It is an emotion, yeah. It literally is, and you'll deal with it. And before we get into that, what would you say like the most common misconceptions about anxiety is that you want to kind of just tell people that it's not? Because I think a lot of people believe like once they've got it, they're never going to be able to get out of it.
I think the biggest thing is that you can work through it. The brain is a really clever muscle, and there's so many ways to reprogram kind of like the patterns that you've got. But also, I think a lot of people that have anxiety, it feels heavy. Like it feels this really uncomfortable thing that you want to just get rid of, doesn't it? Like you want to just run the other way.
Yeah,
like,
it's like that heavy feeling on your chest. Like what from the brain makes that relate to the chest where it feels heavy?
I think it's we have like all of these emotions, right? There's this huge emotional wheel that I use with my clients. It's got all these different emotions, and things like happiness, joy, excitement feel very light. They just feel very light and easy. But like things like the sadness and anxiety, they feel very heavy, and they do feel very heavy in the body. And I'm not sure on like the physical aspects of that, but those sort of negative emotions feel heavier and they feel darker. They feel like something that we don't want. And obviously there's an aspect of society, you know, happiness and excitement and joy and feeling great is like the thing that we want and the positive. We don't talk about as much. We do more now, but like the negative effects of like the anxiety and those negative emotions. And really that's why we want to flee them so much. We want to run, we want to avoid it. And I think the biggest thing is the misconception that we can't get through it and that when it's there, it's never going anywhere. And I think that's the fear that a lot of people feel. They're like, right, it's coming in. Oh my God, I've got to do something to get rid of this. And when it doesn't go, then it feels more scary, then it feels bigger, more overwhelming, more darker and heavier. But actually, when you learn to be like, okay, what's this here for? Like, why is it here? What does it need? And again, learn how to process emotion. And I could talk through that process because I know we'll talk through that at the end a little bit. But when you learn how to do that, it doesn't feel scary anymore. Like it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like it's uncomfortable. No one wants to feel anxiety. No one wants to feel sadness. But ultimately, it's an emotion that is there to keep us safe or is there to help us in some way to what we might need. So now it's like, if I get anxious, I'm just like, cool, okay.
You're like accepting it.
Accept it. And then I'll move through it really quickly. I've got so many kind of ways. I'll be like, right, what's it telling me? What do I need right now?
You've got to listen to it rather than try and, like, as you said, run away from it.
Yeah.
And you're so right, because I think we just think of it as such a scary thing. Whereas it helped us so much back in the day in terms of when we were just living on our own or whatever. So how did you start dealing with it? Like, when did you get to that point you were like, I'm so sick of this, I need to actually work through it? Because I bet before you actually managed to work on it in a good way, those past 15 years you must have been trying different techniques and feeling like they didn't work. So I think that's what people struggle with when they're feeling anxious. People will tell them, like, oh, it doesn't work, like, it's never going to work, I'm not going to be able to get out of it. So what happened in your journey?
I think the kind of like craze at the moment, or like what I experienced through my journey, is like nervous system stuff. So like the breathing techniques, the kind of like surface level stuff that people like shout out about, because it's like an instant relief. Like, you can be maybe panicking or you could be anxious and you kind of do a bit of meditation or do a bit of breathing, which I'm not stating that they don't work. They do. They give you relief in that moment, but it's surface level. And it's fantastic. And I have like the whole process and emotion thing that I do, which is great to work through emotion. But unless you're dealing with why it's actually there, like, you can continue to do it. So I did therapy for 15 years. So the whole time I was doing therapy, but I didn't want to just talk about it. Like, I was like, great, yeah, I know why it's there, fantastic. But like, how do I get rid of it? Like, how do I get rid of what's going on? Okay, yeah, I know that I have these limiting beliefs. Right, what do I do with that? Like, okay, I'm trying to fit in. Okay, great, I know that. What's the next step? And that's really where it changed for me. I did all like the breathing technique, the CBT stuff, the therapy, and it was fantastic for surface level stuff. But I was like, right, I want change though. I don't want to just be like, yeah, I understand why. Here comes anxiety again. I wanted the change. And for me, that was really when my mindset journey began. It was like 18 months ago. And
oh, really?
Yeah, so it's not even that long ago.
Oh my God, so it's just recently that you've come out of that sort of...
I would not be here doing this 18 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go you, that's amazing that you're in this position now. And I completely get that sort of surface level. Yeah, they're going to potentially make you feel good for that moment you're doing it. Like, that 10 minutes you're doing the breathing exercise is great, but it's not going to help long term with the anxiety. No. So yeah, carry on. So what you actually then started doing?
Well, let me say as well, one of the other two things that I did, because I recently was a fitness coach. So I was a fitness coach for like 4 years, because I, at that point, truly believed exercise and nutrition, because it really helps your anxiety, right? When we know we're looking after ourselves, when we're doing all that stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, it does surface level again, because it always eventually comes back round or grabs onto something else, the anxiety. So I did that for a long period of time, nutrition, exercise, and was very helpful, like to sort of manage symptoms and like keep my health and all of those things that make us feel good. But the pattern still existed. Like, I still had a lot of avoidance stuff that I would never go and do and all of that. So I actually, 18 months ago, joined a mindset coach. So I had the fitness business, and she was sort of, I found her online, and she was sort of saying about how business, if you want your business to grow, like, you need to work on your mindset. And I was like, yeah, do you know what I do? I obviously have some mindset issues. I know it's affecting my business. Yeah. But it was like a whole different journey to what I started it for. I started it for my business and to grow my, like, continue growing my business. Oh my God,
that's amazing.
It transformed my anxiety in my life. And then
wow.
Yeah, so
that's really good you've done that. Great, yeah. That's good that sort of opened up all those opportunities now. And it's like you weren't going there thinking, right, I need to sort this anxiety out. You're going there for a completely different reason. No. So then what happened when you joined that coach?
We started talking a lot about, because I knew the anxiety was affecting my business, because I wouldn't go and do things like, if I was invited on a podcast, I wouldn't go. If I was invited to a mentorship day or like go and meet people I'd met online, wouldn't do it. So I was like, I knew my business was suffering because I wouldn't put myself out of my comfort zone. So obviously started for that, and then she was like, let's talk about some of the things that you have, like, that's lying behind your anxiety. Like, what are the limiting beliefs that are running the show? And this is where I started to learn about like the neuroscience of it, and what was really the reason for my anxiety. Why was it there? Like, what was it doing? What were the patterns in my brain? Found kind of loads of limiting beliefs. As I sort of talked about at the beginning, it was, I had no idea what to do when these big emotions come up. So that was one of the big things. I was scared of emotion. Like, I had this sort of belief in my brain that like anxiety was this scary thing. I'd had it for 15 years and I needed to avoid it at all costs. And then there was lots of things like fear of judgment. There was that biggest limiting belief. And then it was there's so many different like sort of belief systems that were running that anxiety pattern. And then you sort of go in and you start to then reprogram that. So with NLP, there's a lot of subconscious reprogramming that they do. So that whole journey really helped me to see that, okay, this was a pattern that was created in my brain through my past experiences, and that could be changed. And I was like, wow. So if you can change that, you can change anything.
Wow. So that's
powerful.
Like, a lot of people think anxiety you have no control over, but you do. If you actually look deep enough into it, like you did, you do have control. It's like you just need to know the right thing to do.
And it's really hard when you're dealing with so much anxiety, fear, and all of these things to hear that, because it's almost like you feel like you don't. I know how it feels to not feel like you've got any control. So when I work with clients, I'm always really aware that, you know, they don't see that yet. But they will see it when they understand more about themselves. So one of the things I do with clients is I'll never tell them what to do. I never tell my clients what to do.
I think that's so good, yeah. So I think it's when you're being told, it makes you feel even weaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you advise them to do then?
We kind of work through whatever comes up. So a lot of the time I work with clients that have anxiety and sort of panic attacks. So the first thing that I'll get them to do is kind of fill in a form, like, tell me everything. Like, what have you done so far in your journey? Like, what have you done therapy? Have you done this? Like, what are the patterns? What are you avoiding? What do you get the most anxiety about? And then just really find kind of the patterns behind it. And then as we start to go through the journey, we're like finding the deeper rooted patterns behind this and using a lot of like subconscious reprogramming with the NLP stuff. And we do sessions and stuff to kind of reprogram those belief systems. But honestly, the biggest thing is when you start to become aware of the patterns in the brain.
Really?
Like,
because
when you're aware of it.
I was thinking that when you say patterns, say you were anxious about driving, anxious about flying, anxious about going to like big events with a lot of people. When you say patterns, what do you mean by that?
So then I would question, if someone come to me and they were like, I get really anxious in busy places, like that is the biggest thing for me. We start to go under and I start to ask questions and I'm like, okay, so what is it about that busy place? Like, what's the fear? A lot of people say to me, oh, I'm scared of like panicking in public, or like if I can't breathe, or, you know, what if I want to get out? So then I'm like, right, what if that happens? Like, I literally get them to like play it out. What if that happens? Oh, most of the common ones is like, oh, I'm going to faint and then people are going to look at me like I'm weird, or people are going to judge me. I'm like, okay, so this isn't about the panic. This is about judgment, or it might be about them seeing, like, one of mine was that like anxiety was a weakness. I felt like, because I didn't want people to see that I was anxious and panicking. So I'd hide it. Then the fear came on more because you're like, you're panicking more because you're trying to hide it. And it's like all of this max. So yeah, if someone comes to me and they were like, busy places, this is why, we'd get to the root of it. And most of the time people don't understand what their root is. Like, why? They think it's the panic. They're like, oh, it's because I'm going to panic. But why do you fear panic? Why do you fear anxiety? And then the belief system's there. Then we reprogram that. And
so
then
how do you reprogram that?
A lot of the NLP techniques will go in and subconsciously find out where this belief was created. Yeah,
right.
So it might just be like, and a lot of time people go, oh, I've never had anything traumatic. And it doesn't have to be, as I said to you, it can be literally one moment in the playground, tiny, tiny moment. So we find that out, and then we start to create new neural pathways. So the pathway of anxiety, panic, because of this fear of judgment, say, if that is it. Then we create new ones. So we learn what's the new belief? Okay, we don't want to fear, like we want to be ourselves. We want to be authentically ourselves. Okay. A lot of the time it's about building the safety in the subconscious first, rather than just go into a busy place and stand in there and be like, I'm going to be myself. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
That would probably make it a lot harder, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's the exposure therapy that a lot of people talk about, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It almost reinforces the fear, to be honest.
Yeah, because then you're just anxious going to do it. And then if something happened where people were actually looking at you like, what are they doing? Yeah. Surely you'd then be like, oh no, I don't want to do this. And you'd run away.
The fear is still there, right? Yeah. The pathway hasn't gone anywhere. We might have found out where it comes from and we've looked into it, but it's not going anywhere. So it's then about building the safety that thing is safe before that event. So like almost being like, right, how can I build the skill up or build the pathway up, not hiding myself away? Not just go into a busy place and being yourself, but like, who am I? Like, start from that point, start to build safety in who you are, and then it starts to build. And then the people, like my clients, always want to. I never force them to go anywhere.
Oh, really?
But they're like, oh, I feel safe in myself now. Like I know that who I am, and I like who I am now, and I realised I was hiding that away, and it's safe to not hide it. Boom, they want to go and do the things. Wow. And at first, the physical like pattern of what's been there maybe for so many years wants to happen again, and we have to like slowly start to build up again for that to feel safe. But that's what literally I did for myself, and it was NLP based.
When you say reprogramming your subconscious, is that what you just spoke about? It is understanding yourself. Is that at the start of what you do, or is it sort of just repeating, I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna be fine? Like, is it like that, or is it more just understanding yourself more?
So when we come to like talking in the conscious mind, and we're sort of saying, you know, I'm okay, like everything's gonna be okay, there's a level of that. But if the belief is still running in the subconscious mind, it doesn't matter how many times you tell yourself that you're gonna be okay, you won't believe yourself, because the subconscious troops anything the conscious mind says. I love the subconscious mind. It's a fascinating thing, because
so fascinating.
It runs like 99.9%. I think it's 90% of the show in terms of how we're being right now and what we're doing.
It's crazy. But it's weird, isn't it? Because you feel like you have no control over it, but you do. But I think a lot of people, well, you don't like every day, but if you start, like you said, reprogramming it, you would have a lot more control than you currently have.
Yeah, and it's the subconscious mind, it doesn't speak in language, like it speaks in familiar patterns. It, like, you know, one of the things I found fascinating, I knew I wanted to share this on today's podcast, is neuroplasticity. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, when you first learn to drive a car, right, and you're like, oh my God, I can't do the clutch and I can't do the gears and it's so hard, and you think, how do these people just do it? That's how the brain works. Like, at first it's really hard, but you do it, and it becomes like you just drive now and you don't even think about it. It's natural. That's how the brain works. So if you've, you know, had this fear of judgment from a young age, and then you do these things that then bring on that fear, and then you have the panic, and then you build up these avoidance patterns, that is what your brain just knows now.
Wow.
And it works the same the other way though. So if you have these avoidance patterns, that can be changed. It just takes the subconscious reprogramming and the time. But again, it's not about exposure therapy, it's about safety in the subconscious. So
wow, that's such a great way to look at it. That's so fascinating, because it is. I remember when I was driving, I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm never gonna pass. Or like even parallel parking, you're like, how on earth do people do that?
I couldn't do it. That was one of the things.
But you teach yourself, like you stay consistent. You keep you keep go for more lessons. You keep going back to the part you were scared about driving. You go back and face it again, and keep trying to reprogram your mind to learn it. So if you're going to be reprogramming your subconscious mind about being judged, about being rejected, then you're going to come out in the same state when you pass your test and you're like, whoa, I can drive.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like, whoa. I mean, it's not going to be as easy as, whoa, it's gone. But it's going to be a process of it.
You know, I've done a lot of the work, and their anxiety still shows up. It is an emotion, and it is trying to keep me safe from old triggers. Like, how I see it is like, I'm a bit of a visual person, so this is why I always use the visuals. But like, in your mind, you say like you're going for a dog walk, right, and you've got the public footpath that's like trodden down and it's really clear, right? That's the pathway that's really habitual for you right now. Say if it's anxiety, say if it's panic, or whatever it is, that's the path that's really trodden down. You're building a new pathway in this subconscious reprogramming, right? And you have to tread on it a million times for it to be. And I'm not saying a million specifically, I'm just saying like over and over again. But it's not about going into the thing that makes you the most anxious. It's about building the safety on that pathway first. So if you have like your anxiety and panic is built up of these limiting beliefs, and they can be many different things for different people, but say fear of judgment, we have to be building the safety in ourselves first before we just go into a place that we might be judged in or whatever, right? So it's not as simple as like, just go into a place and then doing like, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
and doing that a million
sense.
times.
Yeah.
It's about making sure the subconscious feels safe from within, and then externally anything feels safe, right? It's fascinating.
It's so fascinating.
I love it.
And I've like we've spoken a lot about fear and judgment, but what about the anxiety where it's more you're just scared or worried, for example, like flight anxiety? Like I know a lot of people have such bad flight anxiety because they're up, like they're literally in the middle of the sky. They have no control about what's going on. How would you deal with something like that?
That's a phobia sense, right? So a lot of the time it comes from situations that and it might not be like they've been in a plane accident. Like, it's very rare. It's actually can just be built based on the situations they've been in or the people that they've been around in. So, for example, I actually had flight anxiety for a long time. I did have a bit of a crazy experience with a flight though. Like a flight went to take off, the engine set alight. So it's like pretty serious, right? So that's a pretty simple one, right? You can understand why then I'd have flight anxiety. It was safe, everything was fine. But now taking off, it's like, oh my God. But like for someone that hasn't had, and they're just like, well, I don't know where this comes from. Like I haven't had any bad experience, but a lot of the people that I work with, normally it comes down to being trapped. So like they're on a plane and they're being trapped there, like they can't get out. That can be one thing. So then I dig into like why you fear being trapped. If it's that they maybe have been around people in their life that also fear flying, or they have fear about being away from home. There's so many reasons why people have fear of flying, and it's a lot deeper than the flight itself.
Yeah.
So again, it could be that they've had an experience that then fears them. It could be that they are fear of being trapped in that situation or being so far away from home. It varies so much. But in that situation, that's where I say, like, I have a little toolbox that I give people of like things that you can do in the moment, like the nervous system stuff. But if you want real change, it's the subconscious change, because the subconscious fears flying, and there's a reason for that. We just have to find out what the pattern is. So I know that's not very helpful to like probably people listening right now.
No, but I guess it is, because I guess, if they're right now and they've got a flight tomorrow, maybe that won't help. Yeah. But that will help in the long run by reprogramming their subconscious. And speaking about like short-term sort of techniques, if you were to give anyone, because I think when I ask guest questions, the main questions were, how do you stop that fear, or if you can feel a panic attack coming on, how can you sort of stop that from getting worse? So
I do have obviously like a little step-by-step guide that I kind of like used myself, and then also give to clients now as well, because I think it is so important to have something to do in those moments, because we can't just be like, oh, it's here and we're just going to sit in it. Like it's not always that easy, right? Especially when I fully understand how overwhelming it feels. Like it is on another level when you have panic and anxiety. It feels so overwhelming. The biggest thing is to learn how to process emotion, as I said. And one of the things that I do with that is like, the first thing is actually, what do you need? Like, what do you need in that moment? Like, what do you need? And then do that. Because a lot of the time you could be like, right, I might need a quiet space. Like, give yourself that. If it means that you need to take a moment in the car before you set off to drive, like, or it means pulling over, like, don't be afraid of giving yourself exactly what you need in that moment. And then a lot of the NLP stuff is actually in the body. So I always kind of name the emotion. So I'll name it. It separates it from you.
Well, like you give it its own little name?
Yeah, I'll be like, I used to call my anxiety like Anxiety Ash, because it's my name, right? So I'd be like, oh, Anxiety Ash is here. It almost makes it a little bit comical. Yeah. And it separates it from the seriousness of what it feels like.
Yeah, and I guess you're accepting it more because it's more like personal as well.
Yeah, so give it a name. And then I'd be like, right, where do I feel that in the body? Then you're separating it from the logic mind, which is racing at this point, right? The mind is going, oh my God, like the world is ending. Like I'm going to die right here, right now. Because that's what happens, isn't it?
It's mental that your brain will make you think like that. Yeah, look at everyone else nearby. They're just getting on with life.
Everyone's like, oh, life is good. And you're just there thinking, I'm dying. Everything's like the world is dooming around me. So separate it from your mind to your body. Like, where do you feel that in the body? And I literally have this on my phone. I've still got it because obviously anxiety and panic was something that still showed up even throughout my journey. And it can still show up now for me, but I move through it really quickly now. Like, it doesn't affect me. So I rarely have physical symptoms now because I don't fear them. A lot of the panic is the fear of the fear. But yeah, so move into the body, and I can definitely like put this somewhere for someone to download. I don't know if you have like on podcast they can download anything, or if they asked me they could send it through. Yeah. So you move
so sorry, I'll just put in there. If anyone wants this program that she's about to explain, follow her account and give her a DM, and then she'll give you the program. So carry on. I love it, right? And I'll give it for free. Like, it's literally just the notes on my phone. It's nothing like special, but it's really useful to go through step by step. So then into the body, like, where do I feel that in the body? And then an NLP technique is like, what shape is it and what color is it? You're almost even more separating it from the body. And this is really what they actually teach kids these days on how to process emotion. It's like a real scientific neuroscience aspect. So
just give it a shape and then like hold it out in your hands. Like if you're in public, I understand this isn't like something that maybe you might just be able to sit there and be like,
like be holding it small in your hands.
But like shape in the body, like where is it in the body? So a lot of mine would always be in my stomach, like tight stomach or chest, right? So what shape is it? Just because our brains work in visuals as well. So, okay, what shape is it? Right, it's a triangle and it's blue. It could be literally the most randomest thing. It doesn't have to be anything. Don't try and mold it into something you want. What is it? Just first off. Colour, shape, okay. Now I want you to imagine that shape like literally coming out the bottom of your body or coming out of your chest and like it's visually going away. You can close your eyes when you do this, but again, if you're out in public, you might just want to be like, I'm going to do this on the sly. Out of the body. So you are processing it. One, you're asking yourself what you need. So you're actually listening to it because emotions are little alarm bells. And then physically we're taking it out of the body as well. Wow. So it does fascinating. I love it.
Really? So that definitely helps.
Do you know what? I did a YouTube video on this complete technique. So if you're at home and you've got like 10 minutes to really go through it, go and look at that video because it's so good to do it at home for the first few goes so you get to grips with like what you're actually doing because obviously I'm explaining it here but it might be a little bit like what's she on about. Do the visualization and then you can literally start using that in a quick process outside the house wherever you are and things like that.
That sounds really good because it's not where you have to sort of look yourself in a room and just be there for like half an hour doing something. It's something you can, like you said, if you're in public you can sort of put it into play on the sly and you can sort of help yourself out with that. And also another question I was thinking, I'm so curious, does sleep have a big link to how anxious you can potentially be feeling, or are they not really related? Because I know sometimes if you don't sleep well, you're potentially more anxious next day, or the anxiety is causing you to not be able to sleep. Like, is that linked?
Yeah, so how I see it from like my perspective on like the neuroscience stuff that I know is when you're tired. So I talked about like the pathways of like these patterns that you have with anxiety and how you get to that emotional state and like why it might come up. And when you're tired, like even if you've created like, so say for me, I've created a world where confidence is kind of like my baseline now. Like anxiety used to be my everyday feeling. Now it's confidence and joy and excitement. I have all these other emotions because we have that control. Like we can actually make them stronger, those emotions that we want. But anxiety used to be. But obviously when you're tired, your subconscious and your conscious brain wants the easiest option. This is why when you're tired, like you want the fast food. And you want the easiest, quickest option. You don't want to go to the gym. Because it's like the pathways that you've built up that you know as self, like, and I say self as in like no worries, no limiting beliefs, just as you as self, you want these goals. Your subconscious wants safety and familiarity. Like it doesn't want you to go to the gym and like get really strong arms or whatever your goal is, and it doesn't want you to go to work and go to that meeting and do a really good presentation. It doesn't care. It wants you to be safe. So when you're tired, slip into them old neural pathways and it's easier because they have been solidified. So that's what I really see. Like that's why it's so important to also, subconscious reprogramming is great, but you also need to look after yourself because tired, fatigued, all that, you just want the quickest and easiest option. So it's fascinating.
Because that is, like you said, it's when you were speaking about if you were out on a dog walk and you had that path already paved, is that right? That path already paved, and then you've got the grass that you've got to try and work on over time, squish down. You're not going to be asked that. You're just going to take that route. And does that relate to alcohol as well? Because I feel like when I'm feeling the most anxious is after a night of drinking.
Fear,
let's go into the beer fear because this is when I feel the most anxious. And I don't know whether I'm anxious about what I done the night before, like if people have got videos of me and what they're thinking, or like, oh my god, why did I say that? But I am aware no one's thinking about me, like they're thinking about themselves, but that just doesn't change. Or I don't know whether it's the actual chemicals in the alcohol that is making me anxious.
I think with my level of knowledge from my experience as well, like there has got to be some level of alcohol. It's a depressant, like it is, isn't it? So there's got to be a level of that causing some of the symptoms that we're seeing from alcohol and like the beer fear and anxiety. I actually stopped drinking because I couldn't deal. I probably could start again now, but I quit it like 2 years ago.
Oh really?
Because it was just too much. I couldn't deal with that next day. Then it would last for like a week after as well. It's like I'd be thinking and worrying and all of those sorts of things. So I think there's a level of the alcohol must trigger something for us to maybe go down the pathway that's easier and quicker and all those things too, right? But there's got to be a level, and there has to be science behind the fact that alcohol can fire up these kind of
there must be,
feelings and depression. And
but I guess it's also because, like you said before, after you drank alcohol, the next day you're going to be tired because you're not going to have slept as well. Even if you only had a couple. I had another guest on here who was speaking about sobriety, and even if you just have one drink or like one sip of a drink, that will change your sleep for the whole night. Not that you're not going to sleep well, but just like how deep you're going into that sleep, that REM sleep. So I guess there probably is a massive link to that as well, and why it makes you feel anxious.
And like the chemical levels of the brain and things like that it's got to, I think it really dull. I know there's a lot of like dopamine and oxytocin stuff that comes from that as well. It's like it drowns that a little bit, so you're not getting your normal sort of, if let's face it, like we're dehydrated when we're drinking alcohol, we're fatigued, like every mineral and vitamin that we have in the body is gone, so you can see why the body can't cope. And then of course anxiety is almost like that alarm system. How I see it is like that alert, so it's on alertness because everything in the body is like depleted. So it must be something. Obviously, I have no scientific evidence for that, but it must be something along those lines. But yeah, I found that it wasn't worth the anxiety and overwhelm that I was getting to drink alcohol. And also, I had a bit of a relationship where alcohol, I got so much confidence from alcohol. So I didn't have the confidence in myself, but when I drank, I was like, so I'd be like this when I had alcohol. I wasn't like this when I didn't have it. I'd be meek, mild, quiet, sitting at the back, wouldn't want to be the centre of attention or anything like that. But when I had alcohol, I was like the best version of myself. So it was a dangerous slope for me.
That's really interesting because you're saying you could never be this version of yourself, but you are this version of yourself now. So that's a big statement, so that you don't need alcohol to feel as good as you feel now. You just need to reprogram your subconscious, like you said, from the beginning. And so is there ways, I mean, I guess it's hard because alcohol was the big part to play in it, but is there ways when you are having that anxiety, beer, fear, like how do you just get, or do you know what it is? Sometimes when I'm hungover, it's not like I'm actually anxious about anything. It's just that like this feeling in my chest, it's just there all day and it won't leave. Like, is there ways that you could sort of deal with that?
I would probably say the first thing would be the process and the emotion. Like what, like kind of diving into like, what do you need? It might not even be like, why am I anxious? Because like you said, there's nothing to be anxious about. It might just be like, what do I need right now? Like how, because a lot of the time, well, I know for me and my experience, it'd be like, I'm anxious, I'm hungover, I have to lay in bed all day. Like it was like this pattern that was like, right, I can't leave the house because I'm anxious, or you know, people will look at me and I'll be overwhelmed by that and everything, right? So it might just be that actually you need to leave the house, or it might be that you need to just lay in bed. Like, can you give yourself whatever you need in that moment? Use the physical thing of the processing it, and it might just be that it can sit there, but you're not going to let it take the time and effort up. It can sit there, but you can be okay with that.
Yeah, you just have to. I think a massive thing, what you've been speaking about this whole episode, I think the biggest thing I'm kind of getting from you is you kind of just have to accept it. It's like you just need to stop trying to run. Yeah.
It doesn't work. Like,
no.
But that's not to say that it has to feel so uncomfortable that you have to sit there and experience uncomfortableness. You really don't. There's definitely ways to process it. But also, like, what makes you happy? What makes you excited? What makes you what you want to feel? So, like, what do you want to fit? Like, one of the things, actually, this is a really great technique that I always use with clients and myself. So, say, for example, you want confidence right now. How I've built the baseline of me and myself to be confident is, like, going back to a moment when I was younger that I was just so confident. Because I do think when we're younger and before we hit all of, like, the society and the high school, upper school, whatever, right? We don't really care about anything, right?
We were the best back then.
Oh my God, I used to have this hobby that I'd dance, like ballroom and Latin dancing in front of thousands of people.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. I literally didn't care. So I go back to that moment where I'd go on the dance floor and I was so confident. I didn't care. I was like loving life. I was dancing. And that's the confidence, right? So I step into that moment. All right, how was my physical body when I was doing that? Standing up tall, my shoulders were tall. And like, there's so many ways to step into emotional states. This is NLP stuff. And so like, if a client comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious and I just feel like I can't trust myself, or I feel like I can't make a decision, or whatever the issue is, I'll be like, right, let's go back to a moment where you self-trusted yourself, or where you felt your most confidence, and like step into it. Like visualization is key for that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, but what you're explaining there sounds so much like visualizations, where you step into that emotion where, because I'm such a big person on God, I am stuttering today.
Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, Saturday stutters. I love visualization because I love feeling that energy where you get excited about things. You feel so much energy, and that's such a good tactic to sort of tap into that emotion of how you felt when you did feel happy. And it's not about like visualizing things that haven't existed yet. It's about actually going back to a memory you felt good in, where you can feel a bit better.
Because that pathway was created, right? That's your, like I always explain it like this, that's your gym routine. So, when you go to the gym and you have like a specific routine to build whatever you're building, whether that's fitness, muscle growth, whatever, you have that routine. Your mind has a pattern or a program to have confidence, like, so you might need to stand up stronger, like this is how you breed confidence, or this is how you step into it. So every morning, I say every morning, I don't remember every morning, I'm not that habitual remember, but like most mornings, when I want to feel my most confident, I'll spend some time visualizing in the morning of this moment and this memory. And then you can even use things like, I know you said about a song, right? We didn't talk about a song at the end, right? You can use visual anchors and like anchors that you can listen to that step you into that moment. So I have this song that I love, and I put it on repeat as before I'll go and do like a live Instagram or a live call with clients, and I'm good. Like, I feel amazing, and it steps me into confidence straight away. But you don't have to use confidence. You can be like joy, excitement. I feel my most self when I'm really happy, whatever it is, or relaxed, calm, and that's an anchor that we use in NLP as well. So
that's really fascinating, because I guess it's like you're putting yourself in that position where that's where your brain is centered, you're focused on that. So all this stuff you're anxious about, you actually kind of forgot it, and you don't even realize you're forgetting it, but you actually have. Anxiety
becomes when you have the pattern of anxiety in certain situations. Say, for example, with you, like hungover, I get anxiety. That pattern's ingrained now. Like, obviously there is probably some scientific behind the reason that you get anxiety after, but that pattern is ingrained.
So you're just expecting it to like come on as well.
Yeah, so that pathway is trodden down, it's walked on a million times. So then stepping into something else, you're almost teaching your brain like, okay, I can feel something different, and I can step into that. Like, anxiety becomes the baseline because it's felt so often. It becomes the strongest muscle. So like if you go to the gym and you do bicep curls all the time, you're gonna get really strong biceps. If you don't do it for 2 years, you're going to get weak biceps again. They might have a bit of muscle memory, but not a lot. So it's the same with emotions. And I love talking about it.
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating.
Told you I'd talk a lot.
I know, but I love that though. And also, how do you sort of, I think a big question I wanted to ask as well, when you're, okay, so you're already in the panic attack, or not even a panic attack, just feeling anxious, not the panic attack. If you're feeling anxious about something, I get this a lot at night time. I'll be feeling anxious about something, and then I will just spiral and spiral and spiral. Like, how do you like get like a brick and just stop that path of the spiraling?
Yeah, because I know that feeling where like literally your brain's like, what if this, what if that, and it like almost goes so above what you were thinking about in the first place.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, I'm gonna promote and say, do the work before that, so that then doesn't become your baseline, because that's the pattern. So obviously talked about subconscious reprogram, which is helpful to know for long term, but it's the short term that we want to know, right? That's where I would almost say, so say for example client wise, I would say let's do some work in terms of like what will help you before that pattern. What do you notice? Like, what's the first trigger? Is it that it's something that's coming up, or is it that it's something like you've got an event coming up? Is it that event and it's the night before? Like, what's surrounding that pattern that causes that overthinking and that sort of overwhelm and that spiral? And almost try and get to it before. And that's where I'd say put in like an anchor, or put in like where you step into a different emotion. Like, do that first. Okay. Then I would sort of, the biggest thing is like processing how you feel as well. So there's like all the things I've kind of talked about, like again, it's finding the ways for you. So like if you know, okay, the trigger is I always, when I've got a meeting the next day, that's when I'll be overthinking and spiraling. Okay, what do you need before that overthinking and spiraling happens to support yourself? Is it that you need to just run through the meeting notes and you need to make sure that you're super organised? Do you need to step into confidence at that moment just to really feel that? Because that can be really powerful if you do that visualisation correctly. So it's a range of different things. So I would probably say the best thing is some sort of visualisation, journaling, processing what you might need, like all of those different things sort of mixed into what you specifically might need. Hopefully that's helpful, because obviously I know when I sort of help people, it's like I always know like the deeper rooted stuff, if that makes sense as well. So
yeah, no, of course, but it's just, I completely get it. It's not, there's never going to be an answer. Okay, I'm spiraling, what do I do? Do this. Like, it's not as easy as that.
I wish there was like a switch that you could go, right,
okay, I've had enough, shut up now.
Yeah, it can just deal with that. And I think the biggest thing is like, we always want to run away from it, right?
Of
we want
course,
to feel like it isn't there. We want to just not have it.
I know.
But all of these things are kind of what gets to that point as well. And also, I don't want to say just accepting it, because I feel like that's really freaking annoying advice, isn't it? When you're like in the thick of it. But I would say kind of looking a little bit deeper. What do you need?
I think that's good though. Like when you're saying accept it, it's not just like accepting like, oh, I'm in this position, it's going to happen. I love that one, the visualization, where you're kind of like actually physically, you're not physically doing, but mentally you're physically visualizing that you're taking it out of you, which I think is great. So you're sort of separating that from you, because I think a lot of people just feel like they are anxiety, but it's not. It's an emotion, and an emotion is so different to the person you actually are.
We're just not taught like about these emotions, like anxiety, even panic, right? There's a level that, yes, they're physical symptoms, and if you're unwell, like go and see a GP. I'm not saying like, oh, just ignore your physical symptoms or anything, but it's a response of the body. And we need to learn that it's okay to have them. But I think a lot of us believe that emotion is vulnerability and that we can't, it's a weakness, we can't have it. So we were looking for the exit. But actually, if we learn to, one, have it and then be able to move through it, it's not a problem. The problem comes from the expectation of not experiencing it. I can't experience this. Like, I can't be out in public and be seen to have any weakness or anxiety. That was my biggest thing. It was like, you have to be prim and proper. You have to be, doing everything really well. But now I don't do that. If I feel anxious somewhere, I'm saying it. This is a really random example, but like, if I'm having a massage and I want to stop halfway through because I'm feeling anxious, I'll stop.
Really?
I don't care. Like, I don't care anymore.
That's so good. That's actually so funny, because when I was in Thailand, I was having a massage.
Yeah.
And I was feeling so anxious. And it was just, I was not enjoying the massage at all. I was sat there for about 40 minutes feeling like something really bad was going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas
they're a bit different out there as well, though, aren't they?
But you know what? I think it's because a snake came into the room while I was
that
getting
might
it.
be it.
So that kind of triggered it as well.
I can understand that.
But that's so good. You're saying like, you need to just admit when you're feeling it. Like, don't hide it. I think that's such a big thing.
Like, so many of us like suppress so much, and I think that is the root problem of most of our issues. We've been taught to kind of like, I think generationally as children, it was like, don't tantrum in public, like be quiet, and kind of like children are heard and is it heard and not seen? No, seen and not heard. That's it. Right. So if we've grown up on that belief, in public we're trying to be these people, or like we're trying to put a mask on or perform, so then we just don't say what we need. Like I read this is really random, but I had surgery 2 weeks ago, like it was a hysteroscopy, so it's like female stuff, right? Yeah. And I was so nervous about it, understandably. Anyone going to have a procedure, like nervous, right? But I was like, I don't care, because I was awake and it was a local anesthetic. But I was like, if I need to stop at any point, I'll stop. I don't care. Like, I don't care how important it is. I don't care. I'll advocate for myself always. Because a lot of the horror stories that I'd read before that was women saying that doctors hadn't listened. They would just go regardless of the pain, and you would have to just get on with it, grin and bear it. And I was like, no, that's not happening to me. So I said, before I went in, I said to my surgeon, I was like, if I want to stop, I'm going to stop. And he was like, great, fantastic. He was really good. But just the point of like being at the dentist and having to be put through it, you don't have to do anything that you don't want. Like, we genuinely as humans don't have to do anything you don't want.
That's so true. And that I feel like that really relates to what you said at the start, where when you're speaking about someone being scared of like big environments, a lot of people, you have to make yourself feel safe. And like you did then before your surgery, you made yourself feel safe. And you had that discussion with the surgeon saying, if this is going to happen, I'm going to stop. So you sort of had that reassurance from yourself that it was going to be fine. And what do you think, for these past 15 years you've been in such a different situation to what you are now, what is the biggest lesson you've learned from all of it? And what advice, if someone listening now is in that state you were in for those 15 years, what is that the biggest piece of advice you'd give to them?
I think number one is, ramble on about it all the time, but it's the subconscious reprogramming. Like, we can do all the surface level stuff, because the deeper stuff is uncomfortable. No one wants to do the deeper stuff. I understand it. I didn't want to for a long time. I didn't want to do all of this work, but it's so beneficial. But also, like, who are you? Because society these days causes people to put a mask on, causes people to have to hide, not be vulnerable, not show emotion, not be weak, or all of these things. And I'd just say, like, who are you and who do you want to be? Regardless of external validation, external expectations, like, take all of that away, and who are you at the core? And then I want you to start being that person, because that is most likely why you have anxiety and panic, because you're hiding, you're not giving yourself something, you're not listening to yourself. So I would say just really, obviously there could be some fear behind that. As I said at the beginning, like being yourself can feel scary if that's not something that feels safe. But like start slowly, build it up, feel safe being yourself. That might be... my whole 15 years, I had become this like carbon copy. Like I only wore what was trending. I mean, I'm sitting here in like Adidas trainers, like all the things that are probably still changed. Yeah, but like it's because I like them now. Like I would have never chose these green, and it sounds so silly in comparison of what we're talking about, but I would never chose these green trainers before because they're green. I'd have gone for like the beige color like everyone else, like in terms of like what was trending on TikTok. Or like I'd only wear dresses, or my whole house was decorated based on Pinterest boards and like what's trending on TikTok. Like nothing was mine.
That's so sad, isn't it?
I know. And I was like, oh, I was living in this like big house, which I loved, but why was I living in that big house? Because I had no money. I had this huge mortgage.
But you wanted to like look good on the outside.
Yeah, it was all. I had this like Audi sitting on the drive. I've still got the Audi, but it's better now because like I had this realization, and I was like, my life has been about fitting in. And no wonder I'm sitting there with anxiety and panic in these like social settings, because I'm like performing and trying to be someone that I'm not. I'm scared for anyone to see the real me. So I think I've gone completely off the question there, but the biggest advice is like, who are you? What are you masking? Who are you not being? And who are you hiding? And like try and be you.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. That's really good. And I was going to sort of ask what you offer in your one-to-one coaching, but I feel like you've really explained yourself well, which is really good. So if anyone wants to sign up, again, go over to our page because I even feel good after this episode with you.
So I obviously work one-to-one with clients, which is obviously the highest program. But I do a lot of like shorter sort of like 2-week programs, like little things here and there, because my biggest thing is about teaching people. Yes, this is a business for me, but obviously you can probably see the amount I'm rambling on about it. I literally love this stuff because it changed my life so much. And I think the biggest thing for me was I just assumed this was who I was. Like I was an anxious person. I was more sensitive than everyone else. And I was just a worrier. And it wasn't. It was these patterns and all these things and me not being myself and all of this different stuff. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to tell people is like, it's not who you are. You don't have to put up and cope and manage with it. You can change. You can become whoever you want to become. It's just knowing and having the tools to do that, and that's what I do with my work as well. So yeah,
that's so good, and I hope everyone listening is feeling sort of inspired by that, because I think it's so nice hearing from you, someone that's been through it all and you have changed. Like you're living proof that you can change, and it's not just because you're a lucky person, it's because you've been putting all this time, all this effort into yourself that you have come out on the other side. So you've done absolutely amazing. It's so great, like this journey you've been on. And towards the end of the episode, I'd love to ask what sort of, if you could give one task to the listeners this week, something that will make them feel a bit better, what would you suggest?
I'm going to say journal, but like, I don't want to just be that person that's like, just sit with a book and journal. Like, when I first got told to journal, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna have to write. Like, I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't know what's going on. So I would say, like, give you just to give you a few prompts. Like, what is your biggest problem at the moment? Like, write that down. Like, what's the biggest thing that you're overcoming or trying to overcome or feeling right now? And then go a level deeper. Like, why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? What do I know? And like, just go a little bit deeper with yourself, and obviously start not suppressing so much. So journaling is a great way to do that, because you actually spend time with yourself. You're not just, I do think we live such busy lives and we just suppress everything, keep busy and everything will be okay. It's distraction at its finest. So I would say the biggest thing is sit with yourself, do some journaling, not just random stuff. Like, actually, what do I need? How am I feeling? What am I trying to overcome? And just spend that time questioning what you need and spending that time with yourself, I think was the best thing that I did.
I think that's great, because then you're putting yourself in that position where you're actually connecting with your emotions, rather than just thinking, oh, I'm feeling anxious, like I'm always going to feel like that, or it's like you're actually connecting, so it's more personable, and you're actually sort of realizing that it's not you, it is just an emotion, which I think is such a great sort of outlook to have on it. And I just want to check that I got all the listeners, so I asked the listeners some questions, and I just want to check that I'm pretty sure we answered most of them. How can I stop feeling, this would be really. So one of my listeners asked, how can I stop feeling anxious about situations I have no control over? So you literally have no control over anything, and you're just thinking, oh my God, I need to do something, but you can't.
So to be like the subconscious annoying person here, I'd the deeper stuff, right? I'd say what scares you about not being in control, because there's obviously a fear there, because there's anxiety around not being in control. So then I'd be like, dig a little bit deeper on that. So why do you fear not being in control, and what do you like about being in control? Because that's where you're going to find the root of that anxiety, and then you're going to be able to be like, oh, okay, because the awareness is always the first step in sort of taking away anxious time or anxious feelings around situations. So the biggest thing that I see with people I work with is that they don't like not being in control. Like they have to be in control, because if they're in control, then they can avoid feeling anxious. So then, question that. I also used to sort of write down the things that I can't control and the things that I can control, and seeing it on a bit of paper always really helps, because you're almost like, okay, no, I really can't control that, because in the brain you're still trying to control it, because that's what safety is. But yeah, there's a pattern in the brain at the moment with that person that not being in control is causing there's danger. It's an alarm system. So work on that if you can, and then obviously I'd say take some steps to make you feel like you can give yourself what you need in that moment. If you're not in control, okay, you need control in some way, or you might need, actually, first thing is like, control gives you what? Does it give you safety? Does it give you comfort? Does it give you happiness? What does that control give you in terms of that, right? And then when you're not in control, give yourself that in other ways. So that's one of the things I really do a lot with clients, actually. So not being in control means danger, but being in control means, say, safety, right? How can you give yourself safety in that situation without having to be in control?
That makes so much sense. It's like you've got to start implementing the safety you get when you're in control, and putting that into that feeling, and it's like a thing you're gonna have to like work on. It won't be like an
it's not
overnight
like
thing.
instant, but like so a lot of the time it comes down to, okay, I need comfort. Okay, so I see a lot of emotional eating, right? We emotionally eat because comfort. I'm going to just sit there and binge all night because I'm just going to get some comfort. Right, okay, your body yourself is looking for comfort. Can you find another behaviour or situation that gives you comfort that then doesn't do the behaviour that isn't serving you? If you don't want, like some people want to comfort you, that's fine. But if you didn't want to, so obviously this person doesn't want to feel anxious about this situation. So find out what control gives you, and then give yourself another behaviour or situation where you can give yourself what control gives you when you're not in control.
That's a great way to do it. You just have to, it's like slowly.
Yeah.
Like, so whenever I say slowly, I just think of slowly but surely. Like from show.
I know.
Anyway, and one of the other ones, I think we've sort of discussed this. How do you go about figuring out what's triggered the anxiety attack? But I think that's sort of, again, you've got to unravel it about what has triggered you in the past, what you've been through. So I think we've spoke about that one.
Consciously you're like, well, where has this come from? I have no idea, like this is random. But actually there's so many patterns in the subconscious, we're just not aware of what they are. So those questions, I do this a lot on my YouTube channel, actually. I prompt a lot of questions to get you to help find the root.
Oh, that's good.
And obviously finding the root isn't gonna just get it away, but when you are aware of where it comes from, you can then start to be like, in those moments where it comes up, you're like, well, I know why and where this come from. I know that I can be safe in this moment. I don't have to fear judgment or whatever the belief is, the limiting belief.
Yeah, that's great you do that on YouTube, because I think when you say to people, you need to like access your subconscious, not access it, but ask yourself questions. I think people just think, I don't know what to ask myself. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and
like, I think that's what a lot of the way people are avoiding that. So I think that's really good that you've got those questions. So if people are feeling ready for it.
Yeah, the YouTube's got loads of stuff. I've got visualizations on there. I've got, like situations. I talk a lot about my own experience. I don't talk about client experiences because it's obviously very private. I talk a lot about myself, but purely so that I can get across what I'm talking about.
And it's more relatable. So what's your YouTube and your Instagram called?
Ashley Anxiety Coach for both. And then if you go on my Instagram, you can find the YouTube from there. And I sort of do different subjects each week. Talk a lot about like people pleasing and like the different reasons as to why that anxiety and panic can potentially be there. So
it sounds like, so everyone go follow those pages. And the last bit of the episode, what is that song you was talking about earlier where you will pump yourself up?
So it's J-Lo, Let's Get Loud. Do you know, it's really old
Let's
school.
Get Loud.
Yeah, that one, right?
Oh my God,
and the reason why is because that's what I used to dance to. I literally have visualizations of me going on the dance floor. I used to do like Latin stuff, like rumba and whatever. And I walk out like ready to go. I was like so confident. I used to have such confidence like when I was young, and I'd walk out and I'd literally, that song just installs something into me. I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So yeah, I love that song.
That's such a good song. And also that's so good you're using that song and that memory and you're merging them together, because then that's just like extra confidence there.
It's the anchor. Yeah. So like one of the things that I said obviously in the chat was like anchor stuff. Like if you have like a lipstick or an outfit or a song that makes you feel good, listen to it on repeat. That's stepping into it.
Wow. Honestly, actually, this episode's been so fascinating, learning about more than just all the surface stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming
No
on.
worries, I've
and
loved it.
I hope everyone listening now is feeling a lot more inspired and sort of know that you're not alone, and you can get through it, because here is the living proof. Ashley got through it.
Living proof, and yeah, life is so much better now.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy you're out of that situation you were in for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, super proud you got out of that. So thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on,
for having
and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.